Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Buffalo SportsCenter video. I am Don, and today we are going to talk about the very exciting team in Buffalo. And it's not just the Bills this year, it could potentially also be the Buffalo Sabers. Yeah, you've heard me right. The Buffalo Sabers could be good for once. It's quite shocking, yes, I know. And it's really down to a couple of big reasons, but before I get to those, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Now let's talk about the Buffalo Sabres and why they could be a playoff team. And the biggest reason by far has to be first line center Tage Thompson. Thompson is on an absolute tear, and even that is an selling of what he's doing so far this year. He is currently second in the Hart race. He's got the second, which means he's got the second most goals in the NHL right now with 26. He's only trailing right now Connor McDavid. And when you're this close to matching with Connor McDavid, you know you're having a really good year. Thompson's got 50 points in 32 games. He's on pace for over 110 points this season, and he has been absolutely insane. Last year, he was good for the Sabres, but this year, after signing that long-term contract, which is, by the way, looking like a steal for Kevin Adams, he has just taken it to a whole new level for Buffalo. Some of these goals that he's scoring, absolutely insane. The highlight reels, he dekes around the goalie, waits patiently, and slots it back. That 6'6" frame of his and that long stick of his is all really helping him so far this season, and he has been the biggest driving offensive force on the Buffalo Sabres. But he's not the only one. Also on the first line are players Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuch. Each of those guys are point-per-game players right now, but let me just talk about Jeff Skinner. Ralph Krueger, I don't know what you did to Skinner that resulted in him only scoring 21 goals in your 2 seasons coaching the team. But ever since before Krueger and post Krueger, Skinner has looked like himself. This year, Skinner is on pace for almost 90 points. He has already scored 16 goals this year, and he's about to obliterate his previous career highs. And like Thompson, last year he was good, but this year, he's got 36 points already in only 29 games, which that's pretty good if you ask me. He's been absolutely insane. Now, Alex Tuch, he's a little bit underwhelming, though he is a point-per-game player. How can I even say that he's underwhelming at 35 points in 32 games? Well, Tuch is a bit of a streaky player. His finishing is not where you'd want it to be. I can name a couple of opportunities where he's missed some chances. Like in the Vegas game, he had a breakaway in the middle of the second that could have made it a 4-0 game and really sealed it for Buffalo, but he could not score. Although, he is having a fantastic season as well. He is the biggest defensive forward on that first line, and with him, Skinner, and Thompson all together, these guys are lethal. Now, usually in Sabres seasons, the first line does usually carry, and right now the Sabres first line is carrying. They have about 44% of the Sabres total goal output, though the second line for the Sabres has also been absolutely fantastic, and that line is Jack Quinn, Dylan Cousins, and J.J. Peterka. Each one of those guys, I'm sure we've already heard time and time again, each of those guys are under the age of 21 years old. This is the youngest line in the NHL, and they've been playing so fun, entertaining, fast. They have been absolutely awesome. And right now, we are seeing a Dylan Cousins breakout season. He's got 31 points in 32 games as of the time of this recording. That's 11 goals and 20 assists. His defensive game has really improved. He's no longer really bad in the plus-minus department. He's actually got a +1 right now. Though he's got 10 points on the power play, which has been really successful for the Sabres. Cousins has also made a good knack of passing and dishing it off to his 2 wingers, Quinn and Peterka. Each of those guys are rookies right now in the NHL. And both of those guys got out to slow starts to the season, but each of them have been picking things up, especially Jack Quinn. First 2 months of the year, he only had 1 goal. Now he's got 5 in the last month. J.J. Peterka, same thing. 2 goals in his first month there. Now he's up to 7 goals and 15 points in 32 games. While we may want to see that point total get even higher if you're on a second line, you have to see the growth and be excited by it. The growth from this line has been awesome. And right now, these Sabres have a really solid top six. And it's this 6 players that are really carrying the load offensively for the Sabres. Though the fourth line is also helping things too. They're really good ever since Peyton Krebs re-entered the lineup after getting scratched for a couple of games. Peyton Krebs has got 3 goals and now up to 7 points since his benching. Zemgus Girgensons and Kyle Okposo each have improved as well this season. This line is a very defensive, very trusting line. They know how to grind pucks and get results down low in the corners in the offensive zone, and they don't make any mistakes. That is huge for the Sabres. That's what you usually ask from a fourth line for your team. And in years past, the Sabres have really struggled in their bottom six. But with 3 lines now for the Sabres that are doing their jobs, things have improved for Buffalo. Now, there is one caveat, and of course I'm mentioning and I'm talking about that third line. Tyson Jost is centering this third line, and his wingers are Casey Mittelstadt and Victor Olofsson. I will say Tyson Jost has played very well since coming to Buffalo, and he's really stabilized things on that third line, but they're still not that good. Casey Mittelstadt has struggled mightily since a good opening month to the season, and same with Victor Olofsson. Victor Olofsson is not on the first power play unit anymore, and because of that, his goal totals have suddenly dried up. I get that he's at 18 points right now. He's got 13 goals and one of the higher goal tallies on the team, but 8 of those came in October. November and December, he's been relatively quiet, and on 5-on-5, you can painfully see him make mistakes. Casey Mittelstadt and Victor Olofsson really need to improve. Don Granato has made it clear that he does not want to change to those top 2 lines and keep that third line together and just hope that they finally get through. I will say, I mentioned it before, Jost has made them better, but they're still not up to the level of the other 3 lines. Now let's shift gears very quickly here to defense. The defensive group for the Sabres has battled plenty of injuries so far this season. Henry Jokiharju's been out for extended time, multiple times. Owen Power is currently out. Ilya Lobushkin, he's been out a couple times due to injury so far this season. So this unit has gone through lots of changes and lots of injuries to overcome, but in the grand scheme of things, they've kind of overcome them. Outside of the Matthias Samuelsson injury, which was a brutal one, and you can see how big his impact is. Let me just say right here that Kevin Adams also re-signing Matthias Samuelsson long-term was a master stroke, because you can see, even though he doesn't put up anything in the offense on the board, he is so good defensively. He has really stabilized that top 4 pairing there for the Sabres. And Rasmus Dahlin, of course, he is a Norris candidate so far this season. He's got 27 assists, second most points on the team with 37, well over a point per game player for the Sabres, and he's at a plus 16. And he's also really improved his physical game as well. Dahlin has to be in consideration for that Norris trophy. He is certainly playing like it, and he's been the anchor back there along with Samuelsson. Now, the Sabres have rotated through a couple of AHL defensemen because of the injuries to Lyubushkin and Jokiharju and to Power. Those guys have been Kale Clegg, Lawrence Pilu, Casey Fitzgerald, and sometimes even Jeremy Davies, but Davies has only played 3 games so far for Buffalo. I want to talk about Kale Clegg real quick. He's been pretty good for Buffalo in his second stint. Let me clarify. His first stint wasn't that good. Recently, he has been playing much better, and the coaching staff has awarded him by putting him on the second power play unit for Buffalo. I've liked a lot how Cal Clegg played, especially in that recent game versus the Vegas Golden Knights in that 3-2 victory. Same goes for Lawrence Pilu. Pilu finally got his first goal of the season in that Vegas game, and the delight and relief that came over his face was palpable. Both of those guys have been fantastic for Buffalo recently, and Casey Fitzgerald, not so much. But the defensive group has held up pretty strong. I like Don Granato's decision to separate Dahlin and Samuelsson, especially with all of these injuries recently. It has really helped the AHL guys grow into the game pretty quickly and not have to worry too much about making a mistake at the NHL level. And finally, we got the goaltending situation here. And this one is about to turn into a conundrum with Eric Comrie nearing a return. But for now, it is still Craig Anderson, the 41-year-old, wearing number 41, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, UPL. Luke. Both of those guys have improved their game recently. And with Eric Comrie returning, what are the coaching staff of the Sabres going to do? Are they going to rotate Anderson, Comrie, and UPL? Or will they send UPL down, which will be a very unpopular fan decision, especially with how good UPL has been playing lately. Granted, it's only been 2 games for him, but those games were against the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights. Neither of those teams are pushovers. They're top of the barrel over there in the Western Conference, and he beat them both while facing 80 shots. He's been fantastic for the Sabres recently after some struggles earlier on in his tenure. With him getting settled and Craig Anderson playing at, let's face it, an all-star level right now. He's got a .922 save percentage and a .265 goals against average. Things are going to get very interesting. And fans have been saying for a long time now, if the Sabres get stable goaltending, this team could be a playoff team. Well, right now, they're getting the results of a playoff team, and because of that, the Sabres really have to look at, should we make any changes? Should we bring Comrie in and send UPL down? Should we reward UPL for his good play recently and keep him riding until either Anderson or himself gets injured, or they just send Comrie down, which I can't imagine them doing? It's all a very interesting situation, which could be talked about in a future video. It's very, very nuanced and layered, and there's a lot of things to go over with this whole goalie situation, but the underlying fact is that the Sabres have gotten stable goaltending recently, which is why they are currently on a 14-game win streak. And that is why this team is now only 4 points out of a playoff spot. So, with all of that out of the way, tell me your thoughts in the comments section, folks. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I was Don. This is Buffalo SportsCenter. Tell me your thoughts about the Buffalo Sabres, and see y'all in the next video. Peace.